Alright guys, let's see how you did on these. So we know that the magic number that we need to have here is 42 because that's where our dot is. We know that this is either going to be a greater than or a less than symbol because it's not filled in, so it won't have the little line underneath it. And we can see that the numbers are greater than 42, and also since our variable is going to be on this side, we know that our inequality symbol will point the same way our arrow is going. So probably this, x is greater than 42. So let's check it. Is 43 greater than 42? It is. So our inequality does match our graph. We've got x is greater than 42. 42 is not even part of the solution, and all of our values that are highlighted here are going to be greater than 42. And of course this arrow means that this can keep going on and on forever. All right, let's see how you did on the last one here. So we know that this is going to be a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal to symbol because the dot is filled in. We know that 6 is going to be our number. We know that because the arrow is pointing this way, then our inequality symbol has to point that way as long as our variable is over on the left-hand side. And so x is less than or equal to 6. Sure enough, if we pick one of these values, 5 is less than 6. 6 is equal to 6. So both of those values would satisfy that. And of course, anything this way would satisfy this inequality. All right, let's look at some samples where we have some word problems and then we've got to write the inequality. Now, these are things that you hear every day, but they are going to take a little bit of thinking to try to figure these out. So our first scenario says, doctors recommend getting at least 8 hours of sleep each night. So define the variable. Well, that's the number of hours of sleep. Okay, so our variable, I'll call that x, is going to be the number of hours sleeping. Okay, well it says 8, we've got an 8 here, so we know that 8 has to be part of our inequality. We know that we need a variable, and we need to decide whether that variable is going to be greater than 8, equal to 8, smaller than 8. Well, it says at least 8 hours, so in that scenario 8's okay, so we can have our little half of an equal sign there. And then it says we need at least 8. That means 8's the least we can have, so everything else has to be greater than 8. So we need a greater than symbol there. All right, so we need 8 on our graph because that's our number where our dot's going to go for graphing. So this will be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just a section of a number line there. We know that we can fill in the dot above 8 because 8 is an option. 8 hours of sleep is good. And then we want anything over 8 hours would be satisfy what the doctors recommend as well. So there's the inequality for that word problem, and then here it is graphed, 8 hours or more. All right, let's look at the next one. You may take no more than 60 minutes on your test. So what is the variable going to be? It's the minutes taken on the test. Okay, so our x is going to be number of minutes on the test. All right, and we know that we're going to have 60 in this inequality because that's the number that we're given in our problem. So we know we'll need 60 here. We know we'll need a variable, and we just need to decide whether we can have an equal sign and whether it's a greater than or less than. So can we take 60 minutes according to this? You may take no more than 60 minutes. Well, 60 minutes would be okay, so we can have the equal sign. And then our variable has to be less than or more than 60 minutes. No more than 60. So that means we're going to have less than 60 minutes here because we can take up to 60 minutes, but we can't take any more. All right, so if we put 60 here and 50 and 40 and 70 and 80, this little equal sign under here tells us that we could take 60 minutes. 60 minutes would be okay. And we can take anything less than 60 minutes. So we want the numbers that are less than 60 in our graph. So we get a nice thick line that shows anything less than 60 would be fine in this case. All right, take a minute to try the last one on your own and then restart the video and we'll go through it together. All right, so let's see how you did. So it says the forecast is calling for more than 3 inches of rain. So our x, our variable, what we don't know, is the inches of rain. We know that we're going to have a 3, and we're going to have an x. And this tells us that we can have no, it's calling, sorry, I said no more. Excuse me, let me reread that. The forecast is calling for more than 3 inches of rain. So we know our variable has to be more than 3. So that's what it tells us there. And it doesn't say that we can have 3 inches of rain. It says it has to be more than 3 inches of rain. So we won't have a little equal sign under there. All right, so we've got to have 3 on our graph. And then let's make this 1 and 2, 4 and 5 for our number line. We're going to have an open dot at 3 because 3 is not okay. The forecast told us it would be more than 3. And then we want the numbers greater than 3. Let's see if that works. Is 5 greater than 3? Sure enough it is. And that's what the forecast is telling us. Anything greater than 3 would work here. So I hope you got that all right. And that's the end of the notes. Make sure these get into your journal.